And so it begins. Hello and welcome to Let's Review. I am a big fan of Babylon 5.
Babylon 5 ran for 5 years and told the story of a diplomatic space station located in neutral territory. It followed the actions of both the station's command staff and of the diplomats stationed there. It also featured multiple space battles and includes the only example that I am aware of space fighters that actually obey Newtonian physics. It was very well received both critically and by audiences, and is widely regarded as one of the great science fiction series of the last few decades.
There have been a few attempts over the years to create a Babylon 5 game, sadly without any success. As a result, several years ago a group of fans got together via the internet and decided to create Babylon 5 I Found Her. And did they succeed? Well, let's start by looking at the gameplay. Within I Found Her, there are two main kinds of missions, those set in space and those set in hyperspace. The space-based missions are primarily combat-focused, with you taking the role of the Star Fury pilot Alpha 1.
As the pilot, Alpha 1, you have the ability to maneuver your Star Fury in any direction you so choose. You can also set it to drift in a straight direction without altering. If you deactivate that mode, you'll automatically slow down without doing anything else. Because you are the leader of Alpha Squadron, on several occasions you will have other members of Alpha Squadron with you, and you can issue them commands through the comm system. So for example, if I target the Rhino, which is the transport ship we're protecting for this mission, I can order the entirety of Alpha Squadron to go and protect it.
I am on it. As you command. Yes, sir.
Copy that.
And they will all acknowledge. We can now see some targets. So if I target the nearest hostile, I can accelerate towards them. However, I don't want to be going too fast, otherwise I will simply shoot straight past them without being able to get a decent target lock. And if that happens, you've got to take a long time to slow back down, reorientate yourself and fight again.
Hold on, we're coming.
It's very different from the average space combat game where you fly as if you're in an atmosphere. This is actually about as close to realistic as you're going to get.
Where are you, damn it?
Right here, Berg. Hold on.
Warning. Detecting multiple energy spikes.
They're targeting us. Alpha Squad,
Even if the
formation.
collision
Fire
alarm
drill.
is a wee bit twitchy.
Activated.
And this game does like to throw quite a few enemies at you, particularly when you're fighting something like raiders, who according to Babylon 5 canon are,
Looks
you know,
like we're running out of luck.
they're mercenaries and they're privateers and they're dead pirates basically.
Targeting a raider.
You can tweak whether you fire in burst mode or
This is one. I'll stay with Berg.
rapid fire.
Understood, sir.
Yes. At long range, you've probably got not much chance of actually hitting anything. You've got to get in pretty close to actually get decent target lock. As you can see, I barely clipped that guy with a volley of fire, so... And this is basically the space combat. It's pretty frantic, and you can get very badly over your head if you dive straight into the middle. Though, if you fancy just being completely hilariously invincible, you can go into the settings menu. You can go to the game setup. Yep. And you can turn on things like invulnerability and infinite ammo for the missions where you have missiles, and infinite fuel. I'm not going to turn any of them on, but incidentally, there are many difficulty levels. Medium is very difficult. I've not even attempted to play on Ace for the simple reason that you just die very, very fast. Now you've also got to be extremely cautious about collisions, because they will do a lot of damage. There we go. And that's what happens when an enemy explodes. As you can see, actually attempting to lock onto a specific enemy and really do some damage is actually surprisingly difficult, but it's surprisingly skillful and rewards you for being cautious and thinking ahead, while also being a little bit on the aggressive side, because you have got to get in very close, otherwise they'll just dodge your fire at long range. And that is basically the combat. There's a couple of missions where they throw in missiles, there's a couple where they throw in slightly larger vessels that you may or may not have to engage, or may be supporting you. But fundamentally, that's the space combat.
The hyperspace missions, on the other hand, focus on travelling between two star systems, and sadly they're pretty boring.
Within the Babylon 5 universe, hyperspace is used to transit between star systems, and it's kinda creepy. Navigating it within the game is fairly simple. You swap your Star Fury to navigation mode, and you target the beacon. So for here, we're travelling from the Vathan system to the Kotok system. So we point ourselves at Kotok, and then we activate the autopilot and sit back. And herein lies the problem. The entire rest of this mission, I will not be doing anything. I will be sitting here and letting the autopilot do all the work. I've got my hands way away from the keyboard and the mouse at the moment. And because I'm on autopilot, even if I do jiggle the mouse, it's not doing anything. With these missions, they feel a wee bit like padding, and frankly, you're going to want a book handy so you can just read or something while they're going on. It's very true to the show, but it's not a brilliant piece of game design. One of the hyperspace missions does actually allow you to engage in some space combat in hyperspace, which does add a slight twist on it because you've got to be very careful not to drift off the beacons, but it still doesn't make up for the sheer amount of padding that these missions add without anything interesting to do.
It's also worth noting that this game is a little on the short side, running at about 2 to 2.5 hours. However, since it's completely free, I can't really complain about that. The most important thing I can really say about the gameplay is that it gets Babylon 5. It nails the tone of the show's dogfights in a way that only a true passion project could, and frankly I love seeing that kind of passion at work. The story centres around a Star Fury pilot named Nikolai Shevchenko. In the years between the Minbari War and the beginning of the show, Shevchenko has been assigned to the EAS Perseus. After an initial mission targeting a group of raiders, Shevchenko is reassigned to a Black Ops project to try and steal a planet full of Quantium-40 out from underneath the Narn government, who are busy establishing a colony on another world in the same system. The story works and it feels like Babylon 5, especially when a certain Star Fury squadron shows up. It's got one main problem, however, in that it's nominally the prequel to the main campaign, which hasn't been released yet, and as such it ends on a wee bit of a cliffhanger. It's annoying, but work on the project is still nominally ongoing, so hopefully one day we will get that main campaign. Graphically speaking, the game doesn't look brilliant, but they hold up fair enough, and the ship models are pretty good. It's also worth noting that the slightly dated graphical style actually matches with the equally dated effects of the show very nicely. As a result, it's got fairly low system requirements, so even if your PC is a bit on the underpowered, you shouldn't have any problems and it should all run very, very smoothly. The music for the game is pulled straight from the show's soundtrack, and as a result it's absolutely brilliant and it works perfectly. The voice acting is okay. It's certainly not the best I've ever heard, but everybody manages to define their characters reasonably well, and the guy playing Nikolai in particular comes off as very world-weary, which is actually helped explained by a plot twist near the end that I think is actually a very good setup for the main campaign. Assuming they ever release it, of course. So the question is, did I like this game? Yes, I did. Should you try it? Why not? It's free. Here's the thing. It's a solid, if slightly flawed space combat game with a really unique style, and it's absolutely worth checking out, especially if you're a Babylon 5 fan. And if you're not, well, I'd recommend you give the show a try and then see if you like this game. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go brush up on my Minbari fighting pike technique, because I am a ranger. We walk in the dark places no others will enter. We stand on the bridge, and no one may pass. We live for the one, and we die for the one. I'll see you later.